I am not recording my weekly update this time. I am here to talk about, well, if you see the title, you'll know. I'm here to talk about polycystic ovaries. If I'm looking off to the left sometimes in this video, please excuse me. I just have my notes in the background on my computer here. Also, not sure what the quality is going to be like because I am recording on my webcam on my laptop, so we'll see how that goes. My last video was recorded on my iPhone, so we'll see if there's a massive difference. Hopefully not too bad. So I have polycystic ovaries and obviously have been able to successfully have one child and I'm expecting another one, get pregnant with another one, so I thought I would just have a little talk about what polycystic ovaries is for people who may be out there just newly diagnosed or who think they may have it, or you know, just wanting to find out some information about it. Most of my information is not going to be scientific or research based. It'll be mostly my personal experience and anecdotal information that I have heard through the grapevine from other people that I know and their experiences, and then the research that I've done over the years intermittently into polycystic ovaries. So like I said, I have PCOS, which is the acronym for polycystic ovaries, and I was diagnosed when I was 18. I'm now 27, so I've had a few years to get used to it and to get my head around it. So initially, what I'm going to just go through is the basic information, and then I'll tell you about my personal experience and we'll go on from there. So the main features of polycystic ovarian syndrome is irregular periods. Irregular periods is the main feature of it. If you don't have irregular periods, I'm pretty sure that it's not likely that you have PCOS. But on the other hand, what my doctor said to me when she diagnosed me, I think at the time she said 80% of people who have irregular periods have polycystic ovarian syndrome. So it's pretty common actually. And then I had a quick look online just this week about polycystic ovarian syndrome, and apparently half the people who actually have polycystic ovarian syndrome have little to no symptoms. So I mean, I guess that kind of undermines what I just said about if you don't have irregular periods, but I'm not sure. There's a lot of confusing information when you read so much about polycystic ovaries like I have over the last few years. It's all kind of muddled a little bit in my head, so I'm definitely not clear cut about it. I'm not, I'm not the expert on it. I'm just kind of giving my 2 cents about it. Although it's called polycystic ovarian syndrome, what people automatically think and confuse it with sometimes is polycystic ovaries, which is where you get multiple cysts on your ovaries. It's not the same thing. It's not even cysts officially on your ovaries. It's apparently fluid-filled sacs, whatever the difference is. Obviously, somebody with a medical degree would know, not me. So that's where the name kind of comes from, but it doesn't mean that you actually have cysts on your ovaries. It just means that like your ovaries will enlarge, and either one or both, and it's there's like little sacs filled with fluid. I'm not going to go into all the medical mumbo jumbo that I've read about it, because I don't feel confident in what I'm saying in that aspect. So I don't want to come across like as if I know exactly what I'm talking about and just spit back all the information that I've read. I'm trying to make it more of a personalized chat about polycystic ovaries. I'm hoping out of this video, one, I can, my subscribers can get to know me a little bit better, and two, a big thing why I want to do this video is so that people who are, say, newly diagnosed like I was a few years ago and on the internet looking, because when you first get told, my doctor said to me that it can cause fertility problems, it can cause infertility, but that there's always hope. Some doctors apparently have told people that it makes them completely infertile, incorrectly sometimes and sometimes correctly. When I was pregnant on, I'm jumping ahead here, but when I was pregnant on Robin, when I told the midwife that I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, the first thing she said was, "Oh, did the doctor tell you that you were infertile?" And she kind of rolled her eyes and was real, like, clearly fed up of hearing that. So I think a lot of people get told incorrectly that they will be completely infertile, and that isn't the case a lot of the time. I know some people have so much trouble getting pregnant, especially because with irregular periods, you're not ovulating every month like you're supposed to. Sometimes you can get a period and not ovulate. Sometimes you can ovulate and not get a period. It's all very, you don't know what's going on inside your body, like somebody who has normal ovaries would. So that's part of why it can make it so difficult to get pregnant. So from what I've researched, obviously, I think there's a lot more information now. Just from my brief look this week, there seems to be a bit more information, a lot less confusing, conflicting data out there than when I first got told. Because I remember when I looked it up, there just didn't seem to be, it was all very unsure. They still don't really know the cause, or there's no cure for it, that sort of thing. I don't think it's very well researched. I don't think it's something that, it's not something that's like a huge focus for a lot of doctors, that they're going to be concentrating on things like cancer and AIDS and things that really need to be researched. So at the end of the day, I understand why it's under researched and a bit confusing, but for someone like me, it can be a bit of a scary thing to just like be looking up and not knowing what I can do to help it or get rid of it, which you can't. Is to do with testosterone. So you've got, like, you overproduce testosterone, you can overproduce insulin, and it can make you insulin resistant, because obviously the more insulin your body's producing, the more your body gets used to it and then becomes a bit more resistant to it, and then your body has to produce more insulin. So I know that in the future the chances of getting type 2 diabetes for me, as opposed to somebody without polycystic ovarian syndrome, is higher. Have little to no symptoms. So I guess that kind of undermines what I just said about if you don't have irregular periods. but I'm not sure. There's a lot of conflicting, confusing information when you read so much about polycystic ovaries like I have over the last few years. It's all kind of muddled a little bit in my head, so I'm definitely not clear cut about it. I'm not, I'm not the expert on it. I'm just kind of giving my 2 cents about it. So basically, although it's called polycystic ovarian syndrome, what people automatically think and confuse it with sometimes is polycystic ovaries, which is where you get multiple cysts on your ovaries. It's not the same thing. It's not even cysts officially on your ovaries. It's apparently fluid-filled sacs, whatever the difference is. Obviously, somebody with a medical degree would know, not me. So that's where the name kind of comes from. But it doesn't mean that you actually have cysts on your ovaries. It just means that like your ovaries will enlarge, and either one or both, and there's like little sacs filled with fluid. I'm not going to go into all the medical mumbo jumbo that I've read about it, because I don't feel confident in what I'm saying in that aspect, so I don't want to come across like as if I know exactly what I'm talking about and just spit back all the information that I've read. I'm trying to make it more of a personalized chat about polycystic ovaries. I'm hoping out of this video, one, I can, my subscribers can get to know me a little bit better, and two, a big thing why I want to do this video is so that people who are, say, newly diagnosed like I was a few years ago and on the internet looking, because when you first get told, my doctor said to me that it can cause fertility problems, it can cause infertility, but that there's always hope. Some doctors apparently have told people that it makes them completely infertile, incorrectly sometimes and sometimes correctly. When I was pregnant on, I'm jumping ahead here, but when I was pregnant on Robin, when I told the midwife that I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, the first thing she said was, "Oh, did the doctor tell you that you were infertile?" And she kind of rolled her eyes and was real, like, clearly fed up of hearing that. So I think a lot of people get told incorrectly that they will be completely infertile, and that isn't the case a lot of the time. I know some people have so much trouble getting pregnant, especially because with irregular periods, you're not ovulating every month like you're supposed to. Sometimes you can get a period and not ovulate. Sometimes you can ovulate and not get a period. It's all very, you don't know what's going on inside your body, like somebody who has normal ovaries would. So that's part of why it can make it so difficult to get pregnant. So just checking my notes here. Yeah, so from what I've researched, obviously, I think there's a lot more information now. Just from my brief look this week, there seems to be a bit more information, a lot less confusing, conflicting data out there than when I first got told. Because I remember when I looked it up, there just didn't seem to be, it was all very unsure. They still don't really know the cause, or there's no cure for it, that sort of thing. I don't think it's very well researched. I don't think it's also got genetic traits, like like my mom is pretty sure that she had it, but obviously it wouldn't have been something that was well known or diagnosed when she was younger. So we figure that she had it and just never got diagnosed. A little piece of information that I'm not sure if everybody knows, but something that's always stuck with me. There's a few little sort of non-scientific and anecdotal information about polycystic ovaries, and one of those things is that one, you're supposed to produce more boys than girls when you have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Now, I think that's a bit like, the pregnancy old wives' tales, because I have proven that wrong myself anyway. I have had a girl and I'm expecting another girl, so I think the information came from the fact that, you produce a little bit more testosterone than the normal woman, and maybe that's where that information came from. But another thing is that apparently it can, and actually this isn't really anecdotal, my doctor did say it to me, that sometimes a pregnancy can actually cure it. Not really sure how or why. I do know that the symptoms of it are supposed to reduce during pregnancy, and I guess they do a little bit, but I definitely still have some of the symptoms. But it makes sense to me because my mum thinks that my younger sister, her last child, may have cured it for her, because she went from having irregular periods to having very regular periods, and so I think it has some basis of fact, but then I'm just going on my experience really. So I'd love to actually, if anyone here does have polycystic ovaries, please leave a comment. If you've just been diagnosed, or if you've been diagnosed for a while, or if you have any information to correct what I've said or to add to what I've said, please leave a comment, or even a video response, whatever you like. I'm happy to, especially if I've given out any wrong information, please correct me. But like I said, I'm not trying to come out and say I'm a medical professional or that I know anything. I'm just kind of going on like my personal experience, the facts that I've read up about and heard over the last few years. Some of it is interesting, some of it I think might be useful, and some of it might just make somebody who is struggling with the diagnosis feel a bit better maybe, or just at least not alone. So my experience, like I said, I was diagnosed when I was 18. I think I was going to the doctor for some other reason. It may have just been for contraceptive. I can't remember why I was at the doctor, but we got talking about my periods and everything, and my doctor was able to diagnose it. I'm not sure if she did a blood test, but I'm pretty sure she mainly was like, your symptoms say that you do have it. And I'm pretty sure that's like something, you can be diagnosed based. I know they can do medical tests and scans and stuff just to double check, especially if you're having a lot of symptoms and they want to make sure that there's nothing else causing these symptoms. So I think they do the tests to rule out other things. But if you have irregular periods and then a certain amount of the other symptoms, then it's pretty definite that you have polycystic ovarian syndrome. The symptoms are, so a lot of it's like kind of male traits almost. So you can get like hair in, like obviously everyone gets hair in unwanted places, but you can get hair on your face, on your back, just in places that more like it's like more manly hair growth than a normal woman would have. And I definitely have that. I also think, and I don't know if it's connected to polycystic ovarian syndrome, but I feel like it is, I have always had quite like strong, thick, dark hair growth, even in the normal places as well. When I was 18 or 19 maybe, I got hair laser done on my legs because whenever I shaved or used hair removal creams or anything like that, because my skin is so pale and my hair was so dark, you'd be able to see the hair like follicle in the pore, so it would feel smooth, but it wouldn't look like I had shaved. And obviously you would rather look like you've shaved even if it doesn't feel smooth than the other way around. So that used to really bother me growing up. And when we were in school, we had swimming as our like sports sometimes, and I used to hate going swimming for many reasons as a young teenager, but that was one of them. So when I got hair laser done, it was the best decision I ever made. And even to this day now, of course, I still get a little bit of hair growth, but when I did 6 sessions, I think they were 6 weeks apart, I can't remember now. So, but I did 6 sessions overall, and when I completed them, the ladies did say to me, ideally, for you to have full removal of all the hair on your legs, you would need another 3 sessions at least. But I was pretty happy with the removal as it was, and of course I didn't really have the spare money to go for another 3 sessions at that time, so I just said I'd leave it and I'd do a couple of top-ups later on in life. Now, as life has gone, I have not actually topped up my hair removal on my legs at all, and I'm still really happy with the results. So if that's something you're considering, I highly recommend it. I did also get hair laser done on my face, and it wasn't as successful, and it was in the same place with the same machine, but the woman did say to me when I went for my consultation that they have less success with it on the face because it tends to be more hormonal, and it can come back a lot easier. So it can be gotten rid of, but it can come back. It can be more reoccurring than other places. So that came back for me, but I still don't regret spending the money on trying it because it was something that I really wanted. And I probably, when I have some money, I probably will try it again, because obviously having hair growing on your face is not the nicest thing to have, especially as a girl, but it doesn't bother me like it would have when I was a teen. Now that's just the way it is. After I was diagnosed, I kind of started to get my head around the idea, because I've always wanted children since a very young age. My friends will tell you how broody I was at the age of 15 and 16. I wanted a baby so badly. I had my broodiness so early. I don't really know why. Of course I was not stupid. I didn't try to get pregnant, but I really wanted to at the same time. But I think my friends were scared that I was just going to go ahead and get myself pregnant and be, and of course, like family and friends and that would be worried. They'd be like, oh God, you're going to ruin your life. You might, you'll never have the same life again. And especially at that age, it can be a bigger impact on your life than when you get a bit older. I know it's not like that for all teenage pregnancies, because there's a lot of teenage pregnancies that I've seen over, like, especially now I watch YouTube a lot, and there's a lot of YouTube videos about teen pregnancy, and oh my goodness, some of them are better moms than I am, and I'm not afraid to admit that. Some of them are so mature and so ready to be parents, and I could have been like that too, at that age, but I'm glad that I didn't find out because I got to I got to experience a lot in that time frame between then and now, and I wouldn't be where I am now if it weren't for the fact that I didn't get pregnant or didn't try to get pregnant back then. So that was a little bit of a tangent, but I started to get used to the idea that I might have to use fertility treatments, or I may even have to adopt, or I may never have children. And that was scary for somebody who really wanted children. So it was hard, but I think I had loads of time. You know, if I had found that out when I was 23, 24, when I'm kind of, you know, girls seem to have a plan in their head of like what age they want to be married by and what age they want to have children by, and things never go to your plan, really. I mean, sometimes they do, but usually not. So if I had found out when I was 23 or 24, I might have been more panicked and it might have been harder to cope with. But because I found out at quite a young age still, and I was still not, I had come out of that broody phase, and I actually was starting to go from being extremely broody to actually like, no, I'm really not ready for children for a good few years now. So it kind of came at the right time as well. So I didn't struggle too badly, but my main focus was trying to deal with the symptoms, which were the bigger problem for me at that time, and also to reassure myself that when the time came, I would be okay, I'd be able to have a family of some sort. And obviously I got my head around the idea of adopting, because of course I always, before I found out that I had polycystic ovarian syndrome, I always thought, well, I'd prefer to have my own children, like biologically, than adopt. Just personal preference. And so then obviously I had to get my head around the idea of, well, I might have to adopt, you know. So, but I did, and you know, when I met my partner, when things got serious, I was upfront and I told him that, you know, obviously if things got serious and in the future, that I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and that the chances of me getting pregnant naturally could be quite difficult. And he was great about it. He didn't mind. He was totally understanding. But of course, as well, I was still using a contraceptive. One, they say the contraceptive is helpful for like reducing symptoms. Personally, I don't think it made a huge difference for me. I haven't found anything that's really helped reduce the symptoms for me, except for maybe following a low sugar diet, but I find that really hard. So I'm not the best at doing that, but I have found when I have followed a low sugar diet, that's probably the most success I've had with reducing my symptoms overall, including struggling to lose weight, because that's another problem that people can have with polycystic ovaries. I'm not sure, like it's kind of really interlinked in that it can make you gain weight, but by gaining weight and not being healthy and well in your body, you're making it worse at the same time. So you're trying to really get a balance there, and it's a tough one. It's not easy. And I'm not sure if it's just me or if it's people with polycystic ovarian syndrome or what it is, but I am a bit of a sugar fiend and a carb fiend. So I want to eat all the things that actually worsen my symptoms. So it's not easy, but I will say if you can stick to it, it makes a massive difference. And I do try to, but I fail many, many times. So when I did my research about whether I would be able to get pregnant or not, I found a lot of positive results on like forums and things about using the combination of metformin and Clomid. So that really gave me a lot of hope. And so that's what I used to think, you know, that's the first step I'll go to if we're trying for children. and it's not working out, that's the first place I will go. I think I've gone on a bit of a tangent because I was talking about my contraceptives. So I was on the patch, the Ever patch. I had tried the pill. I was terrible for taking it. I kept forgetting it. And of course, my fertility wasn't great, but there's still that chance, and I didn't want to take that chance until I was ready, you know. So I went on the Ever patch, and that was great because you only have to remember to change it once a week. And that worked out really well for me. But the only thing about the Ever patch is, like a plaster, it leaves this like sticky mark on. And so when I had moved over to the UK and I was living with my partner, I had been moved over for a while actually. I think I was there for like at least a year, maybe a year and a half, no longer. Anyway, I'd been moved over for quite some time. And I got into this really good habit of moisturizing. I was trying to look after my skin, and so I'd moisturize after every shower. So I would take my patch off going into the shower so that I could wash the stickiness off. Then I would moisturize afterwards, and then I would, that was fine. But when it started to get into the colder weather, I would get dressed really quickly because I'd be cold, and then I would forget to put the patch on. Now, the good thing about the patch was, like, with my partner, I would be like, if you see that I haven't got it on, because I used to have it on my tummy, if you see that I haven't got it on, you know, you fully are aware, as much as I am, that I am not protected. So it's your responsibility as much as mine to remind me if I've forgotten, because you can see that I don't have it. And so when we got pregnant with Robin, she was a happy surprise, a very happy surprise. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. It took a long time to sink in that I had gotten pregnant, even though I wasn't actively trying, and I was intermittently like using a contraceptive, just not very well. But I still couldn't believe that I got pregnant. So, and when the just finding out was one of my favorite memories. I did the test and we were both together, and I saw it first. I saw the results first, and then showed it to my partner Brett, and he was so happy. He couldn't keep the smile off his face. And you know, of course we were like, oh no, are we ready for this? You know, because it wasn't a plan. But at the end of the day, we were just so excited and so happy, and I think it really was the right time for us. And just, I feel like it was meant to be. So that's our experience with Robin. So then obviously I had Robin. I don't think the pregnancy with Robin cured my polycystic ovarian syndrome. I still very much have all of the symptoms, including the irregular periods. So when Robin was 6 months old, I started to get quite broody, and that's when me and Brett decided that we were going to not actively try, but we weren't going to not try. I stopped using the patch, and we just said whatever happens happens, because again, like that, we know that I have the polycystic ovarian syndrome, and we were so lucky to get pregnant with Robin the way we did, and we didn't know what the chances were for another one. And I thought, well, the first year after you've had a baby, you're at your most fertile. So I thought, I'm 6 months post baby. I've got 6 more months before I'm out of my most fertile stage. So I feel like this is my chance to try and use the last pregnancy to be able to get pregnant again. Now, it didn't work. We were trying for 1.5 years before we finally got pregnant with this baby. But a year and a half's not that long really. I mean, it felt like forever for us, but it's not that long in the grand scheme of things. I've heard of people trying for like, you know, 8 years, 10 years, so long. But I got to a year and a half and I was really starting to think, I don't want a huge age gap between Robin and the next baby. So I was getting to the point where I was saying, oh look, I think I'm going to make an appointment with the doctor, you know, see if they can prescribe me the combination of metformin and Clomid and see if that has an impact, and maybe we'll get some results. But before I had made the appointment with the doctor, I did download an app called Ovia, and that app is where I was like tracking my periods. I mean, there's loads of apps out there, so any of them are good. I think I just really liked Ovia, and I've actually been using Ovia pregnancy app now during my pregnancy. I think I probably saw it, maybe a sponsored ad or something on YouTube, maybe. Not sure where I saw it, but I really like it. The layout's nice. It was really nice. So that's the app I started using. At around the same time I started using that app, I also started to track my cervical mucus. TMI, I know, sorry. Not going to go into great detail with it, but I will say that if you're struggling to get pregnant, those two things may have helped me, because within a month of using those, or maybe it was just over a month, I was pregnant after a year and a half. So I feel like maybe it was a coincidence. That's very possible. But I also feel like those two things may have been a massive help. So I highly recommend downloading a fertility app. There's loads out there, and I definitely recommend researching and tracking your cervical mucus. As disgusting as it sounds, and as much as it's, you know, not something that people really want to talk about, I think it was very helpful in us getting pregnant. So I didn't have to get any help the second time, so that's brilliant. And I know we're kind of seeing how things go with 2 children and see how we find it, and whether we feel like that's our family, we're fulfilled, or whether we're like, you know what, we want to add another 1 or 2. So we have no set plans. We're not definitely not having any more, and we're not definitely having more. We're just going to play it by ear and see how it goes. But I do feel like 4 would be my maximum. I don't think I would want to go any more than 4, because I just feel like even 4, I'll struggle to have enough time for each of them. Any more than that, I think I would struggle even more. I mean, I would struggle even more. So if we were to have 4, well, if we were lucky enough to have 4, and if we were able to, you know, fully commit to 4, have 4, like, you know, enough money to provide for 4 children, that would be great. But we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, we are so grateful and so lucky to have been able to get pregnant naturally both times, despite the polycystic ovaries. And not only do I have the polycystic ovarian syndrome, my partner has his own issues as well. I'm not going to dive into them because they're his private thing, and, you know, he wanted to talk about it, he could, but I'm not going to. So we are very extremely lucky, and I think, you know, I feel personally like it was like a little miracle. So so I think that's everything. I've covered everything that I wrote in my notes. Not as clear-cut and organized as I had sort of planned in my head. I planned it to sound really not rambly, but I'm just a rambler, so and I go off on tangents. The fact that I was able to stick relatively close to my plans is pretty amazing. So thank you for watching, and there will be another update video this week as well. so that'll be coming soon. And if you liked this, or if you know somebody that this might help, please share it and like it and comment, and you know, if you've got any questions that I might be able to answer, please comment, or you know, and ask because I'd be more than happy to give what advice I can. And if you like the videos that I've been putting up, and if you like what I'm potentially going to put up, please subscribe. Thank you. Bye.